The market across Australia is moving at the moment, and while this is great news if you're looking at selling, if you're looking at buying, it can make it a little bit tricky trying to find the right home, as there is a lot of competition in the marketplace. But what can be even trickier at the moment is if you're looking at upsizing or downsizing or moving home, and you need to somehow finance that and make that logistical challenge work. Today I want to talk about 4 different ways that you can go about upsizing or downsizing when you're looking at moving from one home and buying another. So the first one, and what would seem like the simplest, is making an offer subject to the sale of your current home. So that's looking out in the marketplace, finding the property that suits you, putting an offer on that property that is subject to the sale of the property you're currently in. While this sounds super simple and super straightforward, if you were to put yourself in the seller's shoes, this offer isn't very inviting. Essentially, it's moving their problem of selling their property onto a problem of selling your property that they have no real control of. And this makes that offer quite weak in the marketplace, especially when there is multiple offers on a lot of properties at the moment. So while being subject to the sale is logistically probably the easiest option out of the 4, it is also one of the most difficult to actually get accepted, because your offer is quite weak when you're looking to buy, and then you are really limited to quite a tight time frame to sell your property, and this can make it very tricky. The second option, which is probably the easiest of the options out of the 4, is to sell your property and then go on and rent something else until that property pops up that absolutely suits you to buy it. Now, this option does involve moving twice, which isn't actually ideal for a lot of people, but financially, stress-wise and logistically is probably the simplest. So that is to put your property on the market, sell it, and then look at renting something, rent for a period of time while you hunt down and find that perfect property that you want to move into. The pro to this as well, if you do rent something and you've got a 6-month lease and you do find something you want to move into within the first month, the rental market is extremely strong and it is quite simple to break lease. And in this strong rental market, the actual fees involved in breaking a lease aren't too high, as you'll be able to find a tenant to take over your lease relatively quickly. The third option, and this one really depends on your financial situation, is bridging finance. So essentially taking out a loan for the property you're purchasing while maintaining the property that you currently own and currently live in. So essentially end up with 2 property loans, and you will be responsible for paying the mortgage on 2 different properties. While this is logistically can be quite an easy process, as it does save you having to move twice, it really depends on your financial position, as it can get expensive paying 2 different property loans for a period of time while you transition from one property to the next and then sell the property you're currently living in. The fourth and final option is probably my preferred option, and it's the one that I most commonly recommend to vendors, and that is to do a long settlement on the sale of your property. And while this doesn't guarantee that you'll find something in this period of time, and you may actually have to revert back to renting something, it does give you the best option of only having to move once and financially not being stuck in a position where you end up having to pay 2 mortgages. So when I say a long settlement, what does this mean? Typically a settlement is a 5-week period. So from the moment the property goes under contract, settlement takes place in 5 weeks' time. Because the market is so buoyant at the moment and sellers really do have control over the terms, sellers can request a longer settlement, and essentially the sky's the limit for how long a settlement can be. But in reality, most buyers will accept a 3-month settlement without too much pushback. So rather than settling in just 5 weeks, you could push that out to 3 months. And this essentially gives you that 3-month window to find that perfect property that you're looking for. Worst case scenario, you have to move out, rent a property, and you end up moving twice. But financially, this is the most risk-free of the options. And logistically makes the most sense, and it's one that I find most vendors head down that path. So there you have it. There's 4 options to consider if you are looking to move house in this crazy market that we are seeing at the moment.